What is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Lions Danivore podcast. Dan, right here, and I am truly humbled to have one of the great ones here. I heard his story, and I just had to have him on here. He goes by Carnivore Donnie. You could see all of his links in the description. So, with that, my friend, welcome to the show.
Well, good morning. Good morning. I'm excited to be here. Samuel, I don't know if you know Samuel really well, but he's told me a bit about your platform, and he was excited, and so am I. So thank you so much for having me here.
Without a doubt, man. And again, no growth happens without being uncomfortable, right? So with that being said, Matt, if you could just walk us through your journey and how far have you come?
So I'll send you. I'm not going to call it a before and after, but it's when I started and kind of where I am on my journey photo, because we're never done with our journey. You just have different avenues, different paths that make up your journey. So I started this just a little over 500 pounds. I was the phrase sick of being sick. I guess that would, kind of encapsulate it or encompass it. But, I took pills for pretty much everything, for, the joint pain, arthritis and swelling, gout, and just a litany of things. And I just thought that was life, I've tried the Mediterranean diets. I tried, Weight Watchers. I've tried, I even went vegetarian and vegan and raw vegan at one point in time in my life, just chasing something. And there are little segments of each little diet that, again, kind of like medicine, it works very little, or it gives you symptoms that you might be doing better, but you're never really better.
Right.
So, I started on this way of life as an exclusion diet, and what jump started it. It's not really myself, because I had already just kind of given in to, depression, and just given in to the idea that my doctors had given me a lifelong sentence, with, low testosterone, with diabetes. And it's, when you hear those words, it doesn't just give you confidence. You feel kind of beaten down.
Mm-hmm.
So, more specific, and this is one that I've had a hard time keeping composure with, but it was the real reason that I kind of got kicked in the butt for this. I every night I read to my kid, man, and there was one night that we were just asking each other questions, and he hit me just with a moment of just pure honesty. And I don't know, you heard something in his voice, and he goes, "Dada, do you know when you're gonna die?"
Wow.
And I said, "No, Bubba, I don't." And I heard his voice quivering a little bit. And he said, "At school, people say that people with big bellies don't get to live a long time, and you've got a big belly, Dada." Yeah, I do. And he goes, "I just don't want you to die too soon." I don't want that either, Bubba. So I made a promise to him that I would do whatever it took to make sure that I got to be around for as long as humanly possible.
Mm.
And that kind of spurred, I didn't know which direction I was going to go. It wasn't like, okay, well, I'm going to do carnivore. No, I, I was done talking to doctors because all they wanted to do was give me more stuff. Just take more stuff. If you just take more stuff, you'll have this. And I never had this. I never had healing. I never had, life-changing results because of it.
Hmm.
But I found a naturopathic dietitian who just happens to be a retired Marine. She is the most evil, hateful, spiteful, most amazing thing that I've ever encountered in my life.
Hmm.
Because she didn't pull a punch with me. There are days where she called me everything but a boy, and rightfully so because I was acting, like a child, like a little, like a punk. But we started with just a few things, and she says, "Listen, you eat like crap, okay?
Hmm.
You eat like crap." She goes, "Most of the stuff you eat doesn't even really qualify as food in other countries." Okay, well, I mean, it's good enough here. She goes, "Well, how are we doing today?" I'm like,
Hmm.
"We're not doing great." She goes, "Okay." So we started an exclusion diet. It wasn't carnivore, it wasn't keto, it wasn't paleo or anything like that. We just started removing things, you know, um, just to see how they affected me, not
Mhm.
being in my system, right? So the first one, we started removing grains. I didn't really notice a lot, but you know, energy may have been a little bit better. I don't know. Still had gut issues, still gaining weight. And then she says, "All right, let's let's get a little heavier." All right. So we progressed through this, removing one little section at a time, and we'd monitor the results for a little while. And the more things that we removed, the better I started to feel. And I'm still at a point where I've still got some gas issues because I've suffered with IBS for a while, and if you've ever had irritable bowel, you know that at any given moment, whatever you eat can turn you into just a fountain of pain,
It's the
and
worst. Yep.
it's rough. So, but also, I was suffering from horribly low testosterone, so it just I wasn't motivated to try anything else, but she said, "Just stick with me." So the last thing she goes, and this is going to be a big one. I said, "All right, what is it?" She goes, "Sugar." I was like, "Okay, I won't add sugar to anything." She goes, "No, sugar in general, no sugar." Okay. And she said, "You have no clue what all sugar is in, do you?"
Mhm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's in like barbecue sauces and like,
Right.
you know, ketchups and cereals and stuff like that. She goes, "Sugar's in just about everything." Like, really? She goes, "If it's a center store item, I can guarantee you it has sugar in it just about."
Right. Exactly.
So she goes, "I want you to, uh, have you ever heard of carnivore?" I was like, "Yeah, it's for people that really like to eat meat." She goes, "No, carnivore diet." It's like, I'm assuming it's just people that like to eat meat. She goes, "I want you to read up on it for a little bit and let's talk about it."
Oh my goodness. This is mind blowing right here.
So I read about it, and honestly, it didn't seem like a bad thing. I mean, I get to eat steak, eggs, bacon, chicken, butter. Seemed like pretty good things, but I didn't realize how many foods and how many different sectors of my life that I had just taken for granted that there's sugar in this. There's nothing that's even a whole food thing about what I'm eating. But we went ahead and we went into carnivore. It wasn't, hey, I'm carnivore today. No, it's exclusion diet got me into a point where carnivore made sense. And the more I read about it, it made sense. I started seeing the videos, with Dr. Fauci, Baker. I started getting into their research, their studies, and it just kept making more and more sense. And I see these guys that, 300 pounds, 400 pounds, changing their lives, not just changing their physical makeup, they change their lives.
Mhm.
And I coined my own little phrase. I said, this diet, it's amazing, that it gives such great healing, and you just have a great side effect of weight loss. Because weight loss is just the side effect of your body healing. So fast forward, I'm 100% carnivore. I'm not Lion's diet yet,
Mhm.
but the gas is gone. The inflammation was gone. The brain fog was gone. The blood pressure issues was gone. I started managing my type 2 without the use of medicines. I completely went off of it. I started noticing my mood changed. Then my body started changing. Now keep in mind, I eat until I'm full. I still eat, not a ton of food, but I still eat to full satiation. I don't count a single
Mhm.
calorie or a macro or any of that. I just eat quality foods now. And this vehicle called carnivore has, when I say changed just about every aspect of my life, even down to spirituality, because I feel like I have a sharper focus on things now. But it's something that I don't think I'll ever get out of this vehicle. I won't. It's taken me where I want to be. It's offered me the best path. And if you get down into the nuts and bolts of it, it is the healthiest way of life that I've ever lived, and it's the easiest to maintain. I know I rambled a lot. Sorry.
No, no, you can keep on going. There's just so many levels here that I want to attack because you just spit fire right there. Just for me, the biggest part of this puzzle was finding this angel of a doctor, this individual that steered you in a direction that 99% will not at all. Number one, we're going to cut this out. Let's try to find trying to find the root cause, to me, has been lost in medicine. It's been
Yep.
lost. Let's focus on the symptom.
Yep.
Okay, you have an issue of eating. Okay, let's focus on that. You're gonna lose the weight, but you have to eat 7 times a day, little meals. Oh, okay, even better. Yeah, but like little small meals. Excuse me. Okay, so now you're still in that trained process of continuing to eat, but now you're limited with calorie restrictions. This
Right.
way of eating, just like you said, you're not counting macros. You're not. I went over 3,000 calories. Oh my goodness, that's it. I'm done. I just love the fact if you can endeavor a little bit more on this amazing angel who you had by your side when that individual started breaking down what sugar actually was. Did they go into the chemistry of it, of what a carbohydrate was?
No, she didn't really have to do that. So I've got a pretty good working knowledge of, body physiology, and because what I went to school for, but I don't work in that field. But she reminded me more than anything. And also, let me correct this real quick. She wasn't a doctor. Okay, she will never claim to be a doctor. She does not want to be associated with doctors, nurses, or anything. She said, I absolutely detest, I loathe our medical field, our medical complex. She goes, I absolutely will never, never call myself a doctor. She goes, I am a dietitian, first off. She goes, but I am a naturopath more than anything. She goes, I want you to find a natural way for healing. And when she said natural way for healing, not just a natural diet, something about that just stood out. Okay. And she's like one of these where you have to have a friend who uses her to get to her. Otherwise, she won't answer a call. She won't answer a text. It and she's pretty backed up because I've sent a few people her direction, enough so to where she's actually trying to find another person who has similar or same ideals as she does to take on more people. So I'm thankful that I've been a good enough source for her, but she's busier right now than she's been in 10 years. And it started with, a podcast similar to yours. And I'm thankful for it because it's changed her life. And now she's helping other people change their lives. And that's what this way of life can do. But also I'm so thankful that somebody that decided to step away from our medical complex. I'm not even going to call it medical. It's just this complex of, subscription treatments. And I said this on another podcast. It's a subscription. It's not treatment. You're just given a pill for momentary symptoms of being well, but they're not trying to get you well. And she understands that. And she understood that. And she did start in med school. She did. But once she saw that it was more about just altering a symptom or masking a symptom rather than healing the person.
Right.
She said, yep, this isn't for me. So the naturopathic lifestyle, and again, she doesn't coach just carnivores, which is amazing because there are a few people that have what's called that alpha-gal syndrome where they can't have red meats at all.
Horrible.
So yeah, and I would go back into depression if I couldn't have red meat, right?
Isn't that
maybe
isn't that like a tick or something that it's the
Lone Star
thing?
A Lone Star tick bites you, and it changes something with how your body can't process proteins from red meats, which it's kind of crazy.
Doesn't it sound very bioengineered? Like I know I don't want to sound far fetched, but it's like, all right, we finally found something carnivore. We're going back to like the primal ages where, all right, I'm full until I'm satiated. And then these bastards, who knows, they fabricate something where it's like, all right, here you go, deal with this.
Yeah, that is I think that could be a podcast in itself. So let's tuck that one in our put that one in our drawer and revisit that because I don't disagree. And with my background and degree, we could talk at lengths about that, and it would tick you off knowing what I could tell you, but it would also scare the crap out of you. What is already out, what has already been, and we've seen little flashes of it over the last 5 to 6 years. And again, not going to get on that topic because again, we'll go for a long time. Okay,
we got all day, my man. We got all day.
So well,
no, I love it. No, I hear you. But I honestly am appreciative that you had the humility and that knowledge of just saying, you know what, listening to your son in that moment in time where many parents, many people would look at it and, wow, that was a heartfelt moment. They go to bed and they move on with their life. No, that struck a nerve. And just, as a parent, when my daughters talk to me and there's certain things that they say, my ears perk up. And along the same lines as you, I didn't have that energy. I would crash on the couch. I would be doing the same things over and over to self-destruct. I got to commend you, man, for taking the bull by the horn. And I wanted to kind of segue towards the blood pressure, the type 2 diabetes, the mood change. How are you now? Like, if you could lead us through that journey there of, holy smokes, this is working out. How come I don't need these meds? I think I could make this leap, and it's working out even that much better.
You know, there's one word that comes to mind whenever I think about those in particular, and it's the word delivered. Like, I have been absolutely delivered from those. And once you start breaking down, you know, exactly what carbohydrates do to you, you know, but also the relationship between blood sugar, insulin levels, and then low testosterone and depression, and how one of those has their hand touching each one of those other sectors.
Mm-hmm.
So insulin levels, they do have a direct correlation with men and their testosterone.
Right.
And men with lower testosterone historically are more prone or susceptible to depression. Depression is that thing that just kind of is that, you know, I'm okay with just existing, you know, but it's a destructive thing, because if you're not building, you know, you're tearing yourself down. So addressing one of those things, the sugar, made more difference in my life, physically starting out, but mentally. It was within weeks that I could start telling a difference in just my mood. Getting rid of sugar, which is the biggest drug in our country, bar none.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We can talk about opioids all day and the benzos and all that stuff. Yes, they are drugs. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not in everything. You can't go in an aisle in a grocery store, a convenience store, you know, whatever. You can't. And go to an aisle that doesn't have sugar. So getting myself to where my first test for my A1C, I was at 13.1. That is very diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, and they immediately started putting me on the medicines for that, which are absolutely horrible for your kidneys. And getting it to where whenever I would do my glucose meter at home, I thought it was a success to have my blood sugar in the 150s, but that was with medication. And I was like, okay, well, this is as good as it's going to get. But when I'm doing carnivore and I was still taking the medicine, I was noticed my blood sugar would be extremely low. So I backed off of my dosage at home. My blood sugar was still extremely low. I was even having some energy issues. I just stopped. I didn't ask my doctor. I didn't ask anybody. I just stopped. My blood sugar over the next couple of days never got above 115. And that would be a high number. Fasting, my blood sugar would be high 80s, low 90s. Well, that's kind of perfect. So I just, maybe it's something I can manage. And I kept my eye on it, and I started telling my dietitian that, hey, listen, I haven't been taking my met for a couple of weeks now. She goes, great. How do you feel? I feel amazing, actually. She goes, all right, let's continue to go with that. She goes, now, I'm not telling you not to take it.
Mhm.
But as long as your blood sugar's fine, let's go with it. All right. Well, the other thing that I was really worried about was my testosterone levels.
Mhm.
So for healthy males, it if you're at 300 nanograms per deciliter, you're considered to be in hypogonadism or low T. I was at 89 nanograms per deciliter. There's no question in my mind knowing that my testosterone being that low was a direct effect on my psyche, my psychological health,
Yep.
because we need testosterone
Yep.
for our mental health.
Mhm.
Well,
Absolutely.
what
Absolutely.
what could have started this? Well, have you ever heard a commercial that is pro cholesterol? Have you
No.
ever heard of a doctor that is pro cholesterol? No,
Mhm.
you haven't.
Unlicensed.
Oh,
They get their license revoked immediately. God forbid that they go into that route. That done. And it's been
crucified.
done. Dr. Baker, his license
Yep.
revoked. When I had him on the podcast, he's like, yo, I had a scratch and claw to showcase to them the studies. And then lo and behold, time, which is the healer of all things, got his license back.
Yep.
Proceed. Sorry to cut you off, but that
No,
struck a
no.
nerve for me, man. Wow.
But here's the thing. I mean, you're not wrong. And again, that's a whole nother topic that you could just create an entire show around is the lie of cholesterol, you know? And I'm so thankful that now that I understand more of what my body needs to make those, because here's the thing, your brain is made of a substance called myelin. Myelin is comprised of cholesterol. Well, if you're depriving your body of the thing that it needs to make healthy neurotissues, well, that's not going to lead to healthy thought. That's not going to lead to, good mental health. But also, cholesterol is essential for women creating healthy estrogen levels and guys creating healthy testosterone levels.
Yep.
So the more I see, the push for pills, the push for sugar, the absolute, annihilation of the thought of, using cholesterol, the more I see that our medical complex is not here to cure. They're here to sell subscriptions for healthy symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now that I am sugar free, my cholesterol, I eat enough cholesterol in a day that would probably make most cardiologists have a massive coronary. And, you know, are my levels high? No, actually, I'm a little upset that my cholesterol is as low as it currently is because I eat eggs, butter, the fattiest cuts of meat that I can possibly find. I'm the guy over there. Hey, listen, do you have anything that's got a ridiculous amount of fat in it? I'm that guy, and I'm okay with that. But fast forward a little while after getting on carnivore, getting the blood sugar corrected, getting my cholesterol up a little bit, I started seeing mood elevations. My testosterone went up a little bit, and I did something strange. I've had people ask me, what's the strangest thing that you've had to add or that you have added with carnivore? And I did this at the recommendation of an older Hispanic fellow that I work with, and he swears to God that it is the absolute, the seeds of vitality.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right. He goes, you got to get bull and sheep testicles.
Mm-hmm.
You got to find a way to incorporate those in your diet. That was more than one way. That was a little harder to swallow.
That's a
Bad
wild
joke.
card right there. That's a wild card.
Man, yeah, I tried the sauteed, no good. I tried the calf fries, no good. And just the idea of, and he cuts them up into little slices and eats them raw.
Right.
I did that, and my body instantly rejected it. It was just a huh? So that
Right.
thing. But what I did do, I found that liver masked its taste a little bit. And I love making hamburgers. I love grinding my meats at home. It's one of the best things ever.
Right.
So I started taking all my beef scraps, grinding it up, throwing a little bit of liver in there, which is amazing for you, by the way.
Absolutely.
One of the best multivitamins on the planet. And I started grinding up bull and sheep testicle in with my hamburgers. And I couldn't taste it. I could taste a little bit of the liver, but just the richness of the fat still shined through. So I was able to get that in, and the taste was good, and I still enjoyed it. And my last test that I did before I really fired my doctor, my testosterone was over 1,300 nanograms per deciliter.
Yo.
I was completely off of TRT, completely
Wow.
off. And my doctor told me that I would be on testosterone replacement for the rest of my life once I started, because my body would never naturally produce it again. If we were on the Maury show, it would be the section where, and the lie detector and test, and that was a lie. My body is a powerhouse for testosterone right now, and I feel it. You feel that fire whenever your body is producing everything it needs to. You feel that fire ignite. And guys, beware. If you've not been doing carnivore and your body has gotten sedentary and you've just kind of lost interest in everything, when you get on carnivore and your body starts truly healing, I pray for your wife's safety. Okay? Your libido will be absolutely insatiable. All right? It heals everything. Everything.
Yep.
So, I'm sorry. I know that was a little more than what you probably wanted, but
no, we need that. I think us guys and women as well, they need to hear this, because everyone is hooked on these hormone pills. Yeah. Everyone's hooked on these GLP-1s. It's always following the age ranges, right? Oh, from 20 to 30, this happens. From 30 to 50, your testosterone. From 50 to 60, dementia. I wanted to rewind this here on the cholesterol, right? Because again, your brain is made up of, 80 to 95% cholesterol.
Yep.
And I remember Carrie Mann from Homestead How, who's awesome, by the way, did a show regarding MS, multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
So MS, for those that don't know, is a chronic autoimmune disease where the immune system attacks the myelin sheath covering the nerves in the brain and spinal cord, disrupting communication between the brain and the body. Let that sink in, guys. The protection there is cholesterol. That, again, I'm not saying that this is the cure-all, be-all, whatever the case is, but let's look at this as a whole here. For the longest, we've been fooled of the pyramid, right? That look, low fat, leaner cuts, a lot of vegetables, fruits, nuts, grains. But when you eat a steak, cut out the fat. Okay, so now MS has increased since the inception of that within our nutritional system.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't there studies and correlations on this? That's the fun part. The fun part is because the people that are in charge, they mask it, and they will make sure that their narrative continues with getting everyone sick and having that skewed mindset that cholesterol is bad. Sorry, I had a rant.
Oh no, rant away. This is amazing, because I'll go down some rabbit holes with you. Okay.
fucking do it.
especially
I got my
with,
bunny holes, my
let's
bunny
go.
ears. Let's do it.
So the field that I was in was more of a biochemical and medical research. The amount of data that is suppressed, and we're talking not billions but trillions of dollars that is invested in suppression of information like what we're talking about. Trillions of dollars. Okay. This is global. This is not just here in the States. Okay. So, but again, that another another podcast. So we're being trained, 100% being trained, and we're being experimented on like we're, little lab monkeys. So, but you're talking about, MS. You'll never guess what country leads the world in the top 3 neurodegenerative diseases, which is Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia. You'll never guess. Us, right?
Let me get 3. Let me get 3.
Yeah.
I want to say us. But that's wrong, or is
No, 100% us.
it
But
is us? Okay.
we're supposed to be the most advanced country, right? We're supposed to have the best medical here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the case, then why have we had such an increase in, early onset dementia? I'm only 42 years old, and knowing somebody that's only just a few years older than me, already being told that they have early markers and early onset dementia, that shouldn't be a thing at all. I mean, I can see being in your 80s or 90s and being somewhat forgetful because you've seen a billion things in your lifetime. It's hard to file and categorize and locate those memories sometimes.
Yeah.
But being 46 years old and being told that you should probably make plans on early retirement, getting your Social Security set up, because this isn't going to get any better. This is a progressive disease. Like that scares the crap out of me, Dan.
Yep.
To know that there's somebody that's just a few years older than me who has followed the standard American diet to a T.
Mm-hmm.
No, not a picture of health, but also, doesn't just eat grotesquely one way. But she's so afraid that in 10 years, she's not going to remember her kids. She's not going to remember her husband. She's not going to remember her sister. She's not going to remember these vacations that she's gone on and just those little moments. And believe me, I'm talking to her about carnivore right now. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get her to really engage with the research, but she has bought into the medical complex so much. So I'm hopeful that I just get 30 days out of her to commit to it and see the change that she could find. So, but yeah, those 3 though are progressive diseases if you're not treating them properly.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's a cure all. I'm never going to say that carnivore will absolutely cure every disease. But introducing a healthy level of cholesterol to something that is neuro related, I don't see where it can hurt you.
Right. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, touching back on the data suppression, right? I have a family member, my mom, who's, Alzheimer's, dementia, all that stuff. And, you see someone who was always, sharp as a tack. And then all of a sudden this hits. And now we're looking at everything, what we can do, what we can help. And believe it or not, I stumbled across a study from the University of Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, mind you, this is 2025, and I'm going to get into this rabbit hole here. Creatine supplementation may help Alzheimer's disease by boosting brain energy metabolism. It improved mental health in a mental development and that the resynapses of the neurons in 8 weeks of 20 grams a day by 11%. So now some people might like, oh my goodness, that's low. No, for someone that has dementia, it's a brain energy booster. The wildest thing. And again, I'm very much on the fence where, I just want to be careful with supplements, this and that. But the beauty of carnivore, it opens up your mind to vet certain things. And one interesting thing that I noticed here, this was a 2025 early in the year study. Where is it? Where is the part of the follow-up? Let's continue. Let's see. No, it's dead. It's dead. It's over. So now people with dementia are relegated to take something called Rexulti. Another thing that helps. Oh, I mean, high blood pressure, all this stuff, because they know if they allow creatine to help, then the scientists are going to stumble upon something else that helps, but towards the root cause. These pharmaceutical entities are demonic, man. It's something where we had to go through carnivore. Like that to me is the craziest thing. Like, not to jump on from one rabbit hole to another, but as you said before, this helped you out spiritually. And I think that opens up a portal of the sixth sense where we have lost. We have all lost. Where if someone's trying to fool you, when you have that sixth sense, you know immediately. And this whole entire nutritional panel, you need this, let's try the Mediterranean thing. Not saying that it doesn't work, but what is sustainable? And this is where I wanted to ask you. Have you been posed with this question? So, Matt, how long are you going to be doing this for?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I almost laugh at it now. I said, I'll do it until it stops working. That's my short and simple answer. I'll do it when it stops working.
But if you're on high blood pressure medication, if you're on type 2 diabetes medication, mood change medication, have any of those same people asked you, hey, Matt, how long are you going to be on these meds for?
Not a single person asked me that. And I love where you're going with this, because the people that are concerned about me eating carnivore, that have told me, oh, it's bad for your heart, it's bad for your health, excuse my language, but where the hell were y'all when I was shoving down quarter pounder burgers in my face and drinking milkshakes and eating milk duds and chocolate covered everything and barbecue sauces? Why weren't y'all saying something then? Is it because I was doing something very similar to what you're doing and you're comfortable with it?
Yes.
I chose something that, yes, it may seem radical, but to me, it's the most nonsensical, most logical thing. Is I simplified my diet. I eat whole food diet. Look, people have a easier time digesting that I do a whole food ketogenic lifestyle. If I just say that, if I say, hey, I do whole food or I do ketogenics, they're okay with both of those also. But it's when I say, no, I do carnivore. Oh, you can't do that. That's bad for you. How is ketogenic itself okay? Whole food itself okay? But when those two intermingle and we call that carnivore, how is that not okay? And then are you all of a sudden a medical expert? So, but yeah, I think it's hilarious at this point. I don't even get aggravated. I just kind of laugh a little bit.
It's interesting because I think we've all gone through it. And, you try to make sense of friends, family members that they're like, hey, how long are you going to be doing this? But you hit the bullseye, same friends when we would be eating, drinking, downing alcohol, like everything. I haven't touched alcohol in over probably 18 months, if that.
Awesome job, brother.
And again, I wasn't an alcoholic. I wasn't, but I know I was a food addict. That to me was the biggest. But going out with friends, being social, this and that, I felt obligated. Like if I wanted to socialize, I had to grab a beer or Long Island iced tea and get to that level of buzzness in order to showcase my true inhibitions, my true thought processes. But the
Right.
wild part is when I hang out with the same friends, right? Just chilling, whatever the case is, they're drinking. I feel like they have to drink in order to get to my level.
Absolutely.
Not to be prideful or anything, but it's that way of clear-minded thinking that blows my mind, you know? Now, quick question. Is fear a good thing? And I'm going to premise this. Knowing what we know now, what our lifestyle was before finding carnivore, is there a fear in the back of your head like I don't want to go back. I don't want to give this any thought whatsoever because I ain't going back. Because if I do go back, it's going to be 3 times as tough to get back onto this.
So I'm going to address this 2 different ways.
Okay.
So when I started carnivore, it was almost out of fear of dying. Now, I don't. I guess I don't really acknowledge fear as much as I acknowledge what's in front of me and the greatness that my life has. So I'm doing it more for the amazing things that are happening, that I'm making happen, that are around me. I'm doing it for the love of my kid, for the love of myself now, for the love of my family, because giving myself the best has allowed me to give the best of myself. And the people in your life deserve that. So no, I initially started a little bit out of fear, but my perspective has changed 100%, like the 180. I am operating out of excitement and love for what I have today, for what I have tomorrow, for what I have for my family, my friends, my work, my spiritual walk, all of that. So I don't operate out of fear anymore. Do I think fear is healthy? You know what? Every fire has to have a spark to start it, or an ignition point. And fires don't always go in the same direction. But fires change things in people.
Mhm.
And this is, maybe again, the spark was fear. But it's dang sure not still fear. I don't fear death. I don't fear life. I just look forward to my next moment of being better, and the only thing I'm in competition with is me yesterday, like, and I want me today to do as much as I can to set me tomorrow up for whatever successes I can. I don't ever want to be the me today that looks back at me yesterday and says, God, I wish that guy had done this to help me get here. Like, I want to be the guy every day that the guy before me would rely on to set me up. And I know that's a lot of, bouncing there, but yeah, fear. The only thing I guess I would fear is not being able to spread this to enough people quickly enough.
Mhm.
But again, I look at that as a challenge.
I love it, man.
What you're doing right here, Dan, what you're doing, what Baker and Barry and Fauci, what all those guys have given up in the name of trying to get people to see wellness, to step outside of this complex of, you have to listen to doctors because they're the end all be all. Medicine's a practice.
Mhm.
A practice. It's not a perfect thing. and it never will be because it's run by humans. But things that were put on this earth and divinely placed for us are perfect. So when I understand that, I don't really see how we can operate in fear anymore. Just the challenge of creating the next best day that we could ever have.
You know, there's a great motivational speaker called Les Brown. He says, jump and fly, jump and fall. The worst decision that we could ever do is never taking that risk that you never leaped. You know, and I can, I am, I will, let's go. Like that mentality is very difficult to have when you're fog minded, when you're like thinking of words, what to say in an argument or just a regular social atmosphere environment. But when you have that down packed, like there's this level of presence that I've noticed. Like I would always look at other individuals. There's this gentleman here who I had on the pod when we honored our veterans, North Dakota Carnivore Lance. What he was talking about, how he would just walk into a room and that presence was there. Where when they asked him, this is awesome. They asked him, I think it was like the top guy at the job, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You know what he said? He said, doing your job. Like straight up, being a one-on-one, eye level kind of guy, not holding back. And I think that's what this lifestyle can do. Not inhibiting us from taking that next step. But unfortunately, with this standard American diet, it's allowing the thief in your mind to take away your purpose. And that is crazy when you think about that. In between your ears is the one that you have to conquer, right? That's the one. The first person that you need to be influenced by is you. You're the one, not someone else. It's once you have that kind of honed in, you walk anywhere. Number one, God is with you. And just walking through a room knowing I know my stuff, but not to be prideful, to always walk in humility, always listening to the other person. That's what I wanted to ask. Have you gotten to that point where, wow, man, my ears are better. Like I'm listening. I'm hearing everything in a perspective where I know I'm going to rebuttal in a well-articulated way. And it's not going to sound condescending. It's not going to sound that I'm combative, but the truth is coming out of my mouth. Have you felt that?
I'm going to say that confidence is not, I'm not at a lack of it anymore. And it's not a false bravado. This is something that comes from, again, clarity of thought, being able to choose my words, being able to see that light at the end of whatever tunnel I go in, you know. So having that sense of confidence, it's not a sense, it's confidence, knowing that there's not an obstacle that is created by man that isn't overcomable, you know. So I guess without having fear of things, yeah, I guess you could say that confidence, that ability to just walk into something and know that I've got it. But also I'm the guy where I work now, where people will absolutely just come to me because they know I'm the guy. You know, hey, listen, we've had some issues getting this going. Can you help us with it? Absolutely. And it's not that I try to take over things. I don't. I'm still a team player, you know, because I don't want to be at the top by myself, you know. I want people with me. So yeah, the confidence though to pull people along, to show people the correct way to do things, and have the confidence to know that I'm not misleading anyone. It's an amazing feeling. It really is. And for it to be a commonplace in my life, you know, 3 years after I really started, because I've been on this way of life for right at 3 years, and this is again, clarity of thought is masterful. It's amazing. Being certain of what your intentions are, being certain that you can achieve the outcome that you set out, and then that success rate just going up and up and up and up because you're able to think about things more clearly and act, more promptly and just almost you turn into a sniper rifle. You can hone in on your target so finely and hit exactly where you want. That's what I would say. I feel like I have a sniper's mentality and swagger now. We're gonna call swagger. I don't care. I'll get made fun of by some of my kids at work. Oh, he says swag. So, but I don't care. Yes, I got swag now. Okay, I said it.
You got it. You absolutely got it. It comes with the territory. I mean, you say, Now, with that being said, Matt, where can people find you, man? Because this can't be the last time that we talk. We can't.
Absolutely.
This is too raw. This is too real. And we gotta get. We didn't even sniff a rabbit hole. We didn't even look that. Not even with my Italian snage. We didn't even get close to it. The next time I have you on, we're going into every rabbit hole because it needs to be endeavored.
All right, yeah, we're both gonna have to have like a full day to dedicate to that. but so you can find me on TikTok. I'm trying to get my Instagram up and going. That's been I don't understand Instagram. This is where I claim that I'm an old guy. I'm not very app savvy. I've been on TikTok for a while only because it's very simple to me. So you can find me Carnivore Donnie on TikTok. My Instagram will eventually be the same thing, and I do want to have a YouTube presence as well. And I'm big into cooking, so I love showing people that you can eat like a king or queen, and still be on this way of life, and it not have to be a boring thing. Show you different ways to plan your meals, to cook, and for it to be amazing. Again, we don't have to eat like paupers. We're eating good, baby. So, but yeah, so TikTok is my primary. I've been a little inactive on it over the last 2 months only because it's just been absolutely hectic. Working a full-time job, but also owning a business. And yeah, but over the next month, I should be able to start being more active on TikTok. So you guys, if you want to come and follow along, we have an amazing community there. Also on Facebook, if you will look up, we're called the Ultimate Carnivore Group. Okay. We're about 5,000 strong now. And what it is we are an encouraging community. We discuss, different issues going on. And when I say there's no age range, everyone's welcome. Just be an adult. We have people that specialize in women's health, women's hormonal health, especially ladies that are going through that change of life and how to, remediate or ease that entirely and just attack it. So there's not a facet or a sector or a genre that can't be helped with this group. So it's called the Ultimate Carnivore Group. Two of my just amazing friends, Coach Real and Coach Michelle. You may have actually seen the Ultimate Carnivore Duo at some point in time, but they're the owners of the page. I'm one of their operator, moderators, whatever you want to call it. So, but it's an amazing community. Recipes galore, success stories. And before I get off, I wanna just tell people, if you're on this lifestyle, you choose this lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let the scale be your determining factor on your success, okay? That number on a scale is just a momentary thing, all right? It is not indicative of your success. Look at your non-scale victories. Are you sleeping better? What are your numbers looking like? How's your mood? You know, how's your body responding? Count those blessings, because the scale is just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can win in 1,000 different areas of your life. Don't let that damn scale, excuse my language, please forgive me. Don't let that scale be the determining factor of what you decide success is, okay? Non-scale victories, and we celebrate our wins, all of them. Count every single one of them, all right?
Absolutely.
So that's something that we really push in the group, is tell me some non-scale victories. So we make people look at everything. But
Matt,
man, I'm sorry, that's another one. My bad.
Matt, you rocked this out of the park, man. So I appreciate you. And absolutely, I'm going to have you back on, all right? Because I love your voice, man. I mean, hopefully after another year and a half on this, my voice can get to that point, because, dude, it is ridiculously awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I get it from my mama.
Love it. Love it. Have a great one, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Bye-bye.